All right, we got to talk about this Ro Khanna, Marjorie Taylor Greene coalition. And I put coalition in heavy air quotes because I want to be real with y'all about this and what it actually was. So for anybody who missed it, like about 2 months ago, back in April, Ro Khanna, who's one of the most liberal, one of the most progressive representatives in the House of Representatives, posted a video on X praising anti-war conservatives' voices. Greene saw it and she responded, and she proposed a bipartisan populist alliance. Khanna then posts back at her. There's a little flirtation game going on. He says, I'm game, right? So they link up and they do a joint CNN interview with Caitlin Collins back in April 14th. And they talked about ending foreign wars, the Epstein files, the national debt, and then nothing, nada. No joint bills, no follow up appearances, no legislation, nothing. That was 2 months ago.
Here's the thing, people. This is what you need to understand about why nothing happened. It's not that the honeymoon wore off, because that usually can happen. Marjorie Taylor Greene literally has no legislative power anymore, like none. She resigned from Congress in January after her falling out with Trump. She can't co-sponsor a bill. She can't force a vote. She can't do anything in that building. So when my man Khanna said, I'm game, he essentially was agreeing to a partnership with someone who already turned in her badge. The coalition was dead before it even started. What it actually was a media moment, a headline. As Ty Dolla $ign would say, it's a vibe. It's a vibe.
Yeah, bro. It was completely a vibe. This is just to create headlines and stories. Oh my God. Conservative, liberal, bipartisan. And don't get me wrong, I want that. Honestly, I do want that, but I gotta be
We
real with
need
you.
that.
We
We
need
need
that. For real, we need that. But I'm gonna keep it real with you. I went AOC on this one, guys. And that's not something I say lightly because she caught a lot of heat for it, bro. Her exact words were, I personally do not trust someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, a proven bigot and anti Semite, on the issues of what's good for Gazans and Israelis. And people called her establishment for that. Cenk Uygur says she sounded like the status quo, which is ironic because I think he sounds like the status quo now. You really watch him. Glenn Greenwald said she was being politically convenient. But here's my thing. But here's my thing. What has Green actually built since leaving Congress? Like what, coalitions, what, movements, what, community building has she built? One CNN interview. That's it. AOC wasn't wrong to be skeptical of that. And 2 months since the interview, it's essentially proved her right. Now look, the issues themselves, ending forever wars, stopping blank checks to Israel, the Epstein accountability, the national debt, I'm on board with that. And so are a lot of people in Congress. And these are still real issues that matter. And there are people that are in Congress that are actually pushing them. Khanna is still there. Respect to Lauren Boebert, Republican out there. She signed the Epstein discharge petition. Nancy Mace, she co-led the Epstein files releases, Transparency Act push. Anna Paulina Luna's been pushing government transparency hard. And kind of literally just introduced the NDAA, an amendment in June to stop the U.S. Israeli military technology integration. So the work is still happening, and it doesn't need MTJ to make it real.
No, but I can tell you though what's real, right? I can tell you what I keep coming back to. Nobody in these conversations is saying this out loud, right? Everybody got locked in with this coalition moment in April. Cable news is ate it up. Twitter ate it up. Like you said, hooray for these MAGA Republicans reaching across the aisle and the progressive Democrats reaching across the aisle to agree. While all that was happening, everybody was watching CNN interviews and debating whether Khanna sold out or whether AOC was being too rigid. This administration was quietly doing something that should have been the front page news of every paper.
Preach.
They signed an executive order rolling back one of the most important legal protections, black and brown, minorities. Let's just include everybody because y'all love jumping on the backs. Right? The most legal, the most important legal protection against blacks and minorities, minority Americans have in this country right now. And that was, again, the rollback wasn't 1965. The rollback wasn't in 1985. The rollback wasn't in 1895. Nigga, the rollback was last year in 2025, while all the cameras were pointed somewhere else.
And this is where I need people to stay with me because I know what's coming. Oh man, we're talking about race. Black people aren't slaves no more. So what's the issue? Shout out to Officer Tatum. You know, I hear this every single week, and I want to address it directly because I think it's one of the most misunderstood arguments in America right now. Zoom in on me. Nobody is talking about chains. Nobody's talking about chains. We're talking about math. We're talking about what happens when one group of people was legally blocked from building wealth for over 350 years. And then somebody said, okay, it's fair now 60 years ago. Like 60 years undoes 350. Like, let's bear with me here now. Picture like a Monopoly board. I'm not sure if you've heard about this, but this is a perfect example to experience what it's like to be black in America. And so picture one player gets 250 turns to himself. So they do 250 turns, buying property, building hotels, collecting rent every time someone passes go. The second player isn't just sitting out, by the way. His labor is funding the first player's purchases. Finally, the second player gets to sit down, except for the next 90 something turns. He can only buy a few raggedy squares, can't get the same loans in the bank, keeps losing terms, sitting in jail for things the first player walks away from clean. Like, then somebody says, finally, same rules, same dice, go. But player one already owns Boardwalk, Park Place, and 4 hotels printing money every single turn. Player two just got his first $200 after pass and go. That's not a metaphor, guys. That is the document measurable shape of this country's wealth gap in America in 2026.
Now, again, I hear the groans. We're 5 minutes into the show and niggas already turning it off. We got receipts though. The average net worth gap between black and white households right now is over $1 million. And that's not a false. That's not income. That's wealth and the stuff that gets inherited, passed down, compounded, all of that. Black Americans hold about 3% of this country's total wealth while being almost 14% of the population. Now, those numbers might seem small to you, but this is where these numbers become large. Black mortgage applicants are denied nearly double the rate of everyone else. And that gap doesn't even come close to when you match the income and the credit score exactly. So think about that. The income and the credit score match exactly, but yet we're getting denied at nearly double the rate. Okay? Black men receive sentences over 13% longer than white men for the same offense, same criminal history. Again, none of that is 1865 history. That's as of 2025 data from federal resources.
And then I want y'all to, be with me on this. Like, it's happening, like he says, it's happening as of 2025. So back in April of last year, I want y'all to hear me on this. The administration signed an executive order targeting the one legal tool built specifically to catch this kind of discrimination. It's called the disparate impact. And the reason it matters is because it meant that you never needed a smoking gun racist email to prove a policy was discriminatory. You just need to show the gap and make them justify it. That's it. Can't justify why your lending algorithm denies black applicants at twice the rate When the creditworthiness is the same, then change the policy. That was the law. Now they're rolling it back on purpose. In writing, across housing, lending, employment, healthcare, all of it. At the exact same moment, the data shows the discrimination it was built to catch is still actively happening.
While everybody was glued for a 2-week media coalition that produced zero legislation, I already forgot. That's what was actually moving. And here's what I need y'all to really sit with. This isn't even breaking news we can say, wait and see about. This executive order is a year old already. The damage isn't coming. It's already done. HUD's Office of Fair Housing, the actual federal office whose entire job is to investigate when a bank, your landlord, or employer discriminates against you, they cut that staff by 45%. Nearly half the people whose job it was to answer those complaints are gone. And for over a month, the federal government wasn't enforcing the Fair Housing Act at all. Not slowing down, not reviewing, not enforcing at all. Then you go to the voting rights. Listen, this is personal to me, but the DOJ's entire voting rights section has been gutted. Career attorneys who spent years building discrimination cases either resigned, have been removed, or pushed out. One of those cases they dropped was in Fayette County, Tennessee, where the county drew up maps with 0 majority Black districts. Every Black candidate since has lost, and Black residents are 26% of the voting age population. Again, this doesn't really matter to you because it's just numbers, race, and blah, 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 but just hear me out, man. That case is gone. So what we're saying is that this coalition got 2 weeks of headline, the executive order got a year of silence, and the story is what? The story is what we bring to you today. Because the question isn't whether Khanna or Greece make a good team or not. Khanna and Greene make a good team or not. The question is, who is the system actually rigged against? How long has it been that way? And what has already been dismantled while we were watching a fucking CNN interview?
Everything is rigged. Let's get into it. Yo, what's good, everybody? Thank y'all for joining us here on Everything Is, the podcast where we talk about everything that matters. I'm your host, CT Chidi Bang. I'm here with my tag team partner, the joint roller Ayatollah himself, Chris the Most High. Chris, how you feeling today?
What's good, man? I'm about tired as a motherfucker, but you know what I'm saying. It took me, I think we've been in the show 10 minutes so I could cuss. Shout out to Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette trying to teach me the way of monetizing this thing. And that nigga be cussing, but they be bleeping it out in that first 30 seconds. So,
yeah, man. So you tired?
Man, these kids, hell yeah, I'm tired of the motherfucker. I ain't get shit done today. Today was Monday. You know, the long weekend that we had.
Yeah.
You know, boss man Chidi gave us the day off on the 19th. But it was my son's birthday. My son is actually born on the 19th. So, you know,
Happy
Friday.
Birthday, Christian. Happy
yeah,
birthday,
man.
Christian.
So Friday was not only Juneteenth, but it was birthday. So between Friday, you know, party, and then Saturday actually doing some Juneteenth activities and stuff like that. Then Sunday actually being Father's Day. Nigga, I ain't get. And then Monday, you know, like I'm trying to figure out where a nigga get where that clone we was talking about. Need some help. I need to call the clone in.
Oh, gotta call the clones in, man. You gotta get your freaking tinfoil hat for that one, man. Sorry. But yeah, man, we definitely had to observe Juneteenth. And we're gonna talk a little bit about Juneteenth tonight as it pertains to our second topic and actually to everything that we're talking about tonight, low key. And then we want to talk about the coalition with AOC and Khanna, and we do want to give a little bit of time tonight for men's mental health, because it's Men's Mental Health Month, and we haven't really given it its fair share of time today. And I think some people have been dismissing it, and I don't like that. I think we got to put somebody on some jam screen a little bit and just talk about their perspective on it a little bit. But here we are. We are talking about everything that matters, and we are the culture. We are the zeitgeist. So let's get into the first topic today, Khanna, MTJ.
Bro, space time. Yeah,
Bro, space Khanna. Now, Khanna, I wanna give him props because he's been working hard, man. He's every fucking where, bro. He's been honestly one of the most active Democrats I've seen fighting for change in this country. Whether you like him or not, the guy's on CNN, he's on different podcasts, he's on different people's platform. He's debating people and having real honest conversations about the issues that this country faces. I have to respect any person who's doing that on a regular basis. He was the originator of reaching across the aisle with Thomas Massey. Shout out to Thomas Massey, who is a Republican who just lost his seat because Donald Trump put money behind his opponent in Kentucky, so he lost his primary. But him and Thomas Massey was the whole reason why the Epstein Transparency Act came to be. So I really support people who I'm seeing actively fighting and putting out certain votes and bills to have certain things come to fruition. And he's been effective, and he's very effective at talking to people on both sides of the aisle. So shout out to him. And he's a progressive, man. He's a real, you know, you know, I'm not sure if he's democratic socialist, but he's for free college. He's for universal health care, and these are huge things that I care about, and I think that we should all care about because it's going to advance the lifestyles of and help so many people in this country. However,
Okay.
no,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, whenever we get when you said however, I was just about to say, yeah, whenever we give niggas those props, it's always gonna be like, we got an eye on you, nigga. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. I mean, that's what I hope he would like to have happen. Like, I don't think you go into public office for people to ignore what you're doing. I think you go into public for people to scrutinize and be in the conversation. This is why we're here, is to be in the conversation. So what I'm gonna do is play for you the flirtation of Khanna and Marjorie Taylor Greene on Caitlin's Collins show on CNN that happened 2 months ago. We're gonna see what they said, and then me and Chris are gonna talk about honestly like what we're gonna give our takes on. I don't want to go too be too harsh on these people, but I want to give an honest take on what they're saying and what it means. Oh, okay, it's already there. I didn't even have to add it, brother. All right, let's take a look. Let me just resize this bitch a little bit. All right, so this is 2 months ago. MTG, Khanna, Caitlan Collins. Let's talk about it.
My first two sources are talking about the idea of working together. Democratic Congressman Khanna of California and former Republican Congresswoman of Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, are both here. And thank you both for joining us. It's great to have both of you here to listen to you and to get your thoughts on the idea of what this could look like. But first, Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene, I have to ask you if you believe that the president thought he was depicting himself as a doctor, not Jesus, in that post.
No, absolutely not. I thought that was blasphemy. As a Christian, I was very offended. And a doctor, President Trump is not a doctor. And that picture had him in a robe, as Jesus is often portrayed, with light coming out of his hands. And he talked about healing people like a Red Cross worker. I think there would be many people that would argue with that, saving lives. So I think it was blasphemy. I was offended. I think he should apologize, not act defensive, and many Christians across America and the world were very offended by that.
I think the split between you and the president is well known now. Obviously, you've talked about the death threats you've gotten because of what he said about you and what has happened there. Some people might hear your answer there, though, and remember things that you have said about the president in the past, things like this.
I'm pausing right now because clearly they're talking about Trump and the Jesus post. That's cool and all, but I want to get to this right here.
Tell me what you got, little mama.
Coming together for decades have failed Americans. And Roe and I, just like he said, we're completely different. I'm unapologetically pro-life. I'm against the trans agenda on children. I'm against the Green New Deal. I'm for very secure borders and a strong economy and a smaller government. But the current center, right, and left that coalition in America have got us in $40 trillion in debt, have funded foreign war after foreign war after foreign war, and now funding another one, and they will be, and we don't know how long this will go. And it's gotten to a point where Americans can't afford life, Caitlan. And so Roe and I, we exchanged comments on social media saying that we recognize how hard for the left and the right to come together and find issues that we can work together on. But Roe and I did that on the Epstein files, and it was incredibly important. And there's also issues such as funding foreign governments that we share that in common. And we know this is that Americans are going in. So I think this is an important conversation worth having.
Well, and I just want to keep both of you on screen for a second, because I think some people might be watching and have never seen the two of you do an interview together before. I'm not sure if
I don't think we have.
I'm not sure if the two of you have, but that kind of speaks to this moment, and which is why we wanted to have the two of you on together, because I think you're right, Congresswoman, that the two of you have a lot of things that you still don't agree on. But there are these major issues, from the Epstein files to this war in Iran, and no end in sight right now, that the two of you do agree on. And so, Congressman Khanna, I think that is a question of what you think this could potentially look like, even if people are skeptical of it being realistic.
Well, first of all, more than the policies, I think it's the way Representative Greene and I treat each other with respect, not looking at the worst possible thing either of us has said over the last 10 years and trying to sensationalize it, but trying to actually have a dialogue to understand where the other person is coming from, where we disagree, and where we could have more common ground. You know, most Americans want to do that with their families. They want to do that with their neighbors. They're tired of us being as divided and simply looking to score political points. And when you have those kind of conversations, you realize that when it comes to corruption in government and an Epstein class that abused young girls and doesn't have consequences, well, look, the right and the left can agree that we need to have one tier of justice. When it comes not to having these foreign wars that have spent billions of dollars that could be invested in jobs here in the community here, the right and left can agree that we shouldn't be in these foreign wars. We shouldn't be giving a blank check of aid to Israel, which has a $45 billion defense budget, and we should be investing here. Our vice president shouldn't be going and reporting to Netanyahu before he reports to the United States Congress.
And there you have it. All right. So, first thing I take away from that is I think that I think the optics of this are good. I think it's good for people to see the optics of this, first and foremost. I do think it's good for people to see that people across the aisle who have different beliefs can come together on things they do agree upon and fight for that. I gave Marjorie Taylor Greene props last week, was it, or the week before? I'm not sure. I think it was last week, for coming out and being ostracized by the Trump administration and MAGA for her stances, with the Epstein files. Because I agree with you on everything, but if there's something that you're fighting for the justice for human beings, I can't sit between you and that, and say that you're a bad person for doing that. And clearly she suffered because of that, death threats, and she had to freaking resign. So I want to say the optics of this is cool, but I just struggle with it just being optics, and I struggle with the fact that this will get so many clicks, so much media hype, and there's so many things that won't get media hype that are actually happening, you know? So it's like when you, it's like the PR for the government almost, you know? I struggle with that because I don't think that anything, I think it gets people excited. Even when I sent it to you, you were like excited about it and you were like, okay, let's talk about this. And you were saying that, you know, yeah, this is what we've been asking for. But when you look a little deeper into it, you start to realize that, okay, this has been 2 months ago. What are they doing now? Now, granted, it's 2 months. Maybe there's something coming. Maybe they have some more interviews or maybe more planned, I don't know, organizations or whatever, you know, rallies or, you know, meetings, um, public, you know, conferences, who knows? But I'll wait and see. Put it out. I'll wait and see.
No, go with what your gift is, because what is your real crux? Let's talk about it. Like, you know what I mean? Because when you sent it to me, again, we talk a lot. You're the one who's telling me, you know, Chris, apathy doesn't work. You're the one who's telling me that there's going to be life after Trump. You're the one who's telling me that we're going to have to get back to some level of diplomacy, decorum, some level of Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. It's the last time we saw opposite sides like, hey, I don't necessarily like your policies, but I'm not going to mudsling. I'm not going to throw dirt on you. I'm not going to try to call you a liar. I'm not going to, bro, if you go back and listen to those debates back then, it's damn near like, I don't even know what to call it. Like the respectability between those two politicians, even as they were direct opposites of what they were trying to push, whether their agenda, whatever the case may be, that has been missing over the past decade. So for me, I've always said that since the toothpaste is out the tube, I never thought that we would be able to come to a place where a person who's been definitively on the MAGA right, who has done, said, been the person that Major MTG has been, right? For her to make the pivot off the basis and the premise of, hey, these niggas not moving kind of ethically how I thought they would. Now, mind you, their spectrum of ethics clearly is not centered, it's swayed, right? So for her to be on the right, to see that the ethics of those on the right are too far beyond where she can reach to, her scooting over a little bit towards the center, like you said, absolutely has to be commended. But at the same time, we've always talked about it. Is it altruism, or is it because you have nowhere else to turn? So you got to have somebody on your side at least. You know what I'm saying? And so for Khanna, I don't know his politics. I don't know what he represents. I don't know what the state's.
He's a Bernie type. Don't lie.
Okay. So does his constituents fuck with that? Because again, we're talking about Bernie. When we talk about Bernie and how he can move on a federal level, I question that because I don't know if the majority will rock with that.
He got voted in, so I think they do fuck with him. So yeah, like I you know, it depends on where you are. I think Khanna is California, you know, and he's a, you know, so, you know, obviously he's more liberal in California, you know, to get a guy who's supporting Medicare for all, free college, you know, and, you know, taxing the rich. That's what he's about. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I mean, the problem I have with her is all the, like she said it even in that clip, like the trans agenda for kids. Like, she really believes there's a trans agenda? Do you believe there's a trans agenda for kids?
Well, listen, I'm not going to veer off too much into that because
I just okay, all right. But
But
my point is
hold on. But
this.
hold on. Let me just say this. As we do talk about June as a month, it is Pride Month, right? So as we are representing and speaking to, not for, but speaking to a demographic that's outside of us, I do not necessarily aspire to believe that there's a trans agenda for children. I don't believe that there is a lot of gender changing of children. I don't believe that. I do believe there is a more liberal stance on how we address the identity that people struggle with, right? So when we do speak about those who haven't made the operational change, but the psychological change, the appearance, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Okay, and I don't want to get sidetracked, but I hear where you're coming from. Yeah.
Yeah.
But my point is not to get into a deep conversation about LGBTQIA and all that stuff. And shout out to that community. And to me, I believe yes, it's Pride Month. We should be able to have these conversations. I'm not like, oh, it's Pride Month. I can't say pause. I can't say no homo. Like I don't freaking attract that.
Oh yeah. I'm out. Yeah, shut up.
Like I don't do that bullshit performative shit.
Can't help me. Yo, did you see Saucy Santana on the joint with Cam?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Speaking of Pride, but like that's like Cam had to say pause, and Saucy like, I ain't finna do that pause shit all interview, nigga.
But but I think it's performative. I think if you're gonna say it next month, then why not say it now? Like if I'm gonna say my true feelings about the gay community, why can't I say it right now during Pride Month? I just go, oh, it's Pride Month, I can't say it. Like they do it on the Joe Budden podcast a lot. Where they're like, it's Pride Month.
We do it for Black History, but like I do see a lot of.
Is this a joke though? Is that a joke?
It is a joke. But it's and rooted in every joke, there's truth, right? So this is the joke. White women are attractive. Black men are attracted to white women, people. Hello, like we're not doing that sellout shit and everything like that. That happens to be true love that is found within interracial relationships. But during Black History Month, there is the running joke was like, I'm gonna say my comments to March. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? I ain't gonna say this white lady look good today, but in March, I'm bookmarking it. I'm coming back to this. You know what I mean? So there is a sense of respectfully to your month, to your appreciation, to your heritage. If you're on
YouTube, I cannot see the chat for some reason. I'm not sure if you can see the chat. Just because my shit is just blacked out. Let me
tap in.
Hit that disclaimer real quick. I didn't want to disrail the show, but I just want to let
do we have a comment?
I can't see the chat. Like, so I don't know.
So
I just want to say that out loud just so that and that if anybody did comment, they know.
No, but I do believe that, to your point of, say what you want to say, when you want to say it, how you want to say it. Oh, I hear a little double on me.
You heard double?
That's me. I played the YouTube and I hear me.
Of course.
But to your point, I hear you where the sensitive, but what I do appreciate that, just to put a bow on that, I do appreciate when the reason why niggas say pause or the reason why we're talking about think before we speak, or there is a level of thinking before you speak. So even if you are going to be offensive, I would appreciate that people was like, you know what? I'll wait till July to offend these niggas. You know what I mean? Like, or if I'm gonna be offensive to Black people, I
know we're getting real sidetracked, but real quick.
If
you have an issue with the community, I think that's the time to talk about it. I do. I think that if you are genuinely having a conversation, not if you just want to hate. You just want to hate. You should be hating, period. But if you have an issue like, hey, listen, why is this happening in this community? I do have an issue with the trans bathroom conversation. If you want to have a real conversation about it, let's have a real conversation. Don't just say trans agenda, blanket statement, and bringing it back to Marjorie. She does this all the fucking time. Like she's not like she lumps the Jews into one box, and she's anti-Semitic. She lumps in black people, and she says black people were slaves to the Democratic Party. Like, you saw what she did with, Jasmine Crockett. You think you're a fake Alice, you're messing up when you're reading. Like she's just extremely offensive. However, yeah, you wanna call out shit that's going on with sex trafficking and Epstein, and get like fight for women's justice. I applaud her for 100%. But I do have this feeling, and I'm with AOC on this, is that this bigoted, racist, anti-Semitic woman is now forced out of her MAGA cult, and she's looking for a home. And now, like you said, like she's trying to find somebody, and if oh yeah, we can talk, we can be bipartisan. Now she's going on her apology tour, and talking to people. I'm not saying that she can't turn a new leaf and have a real conversation about her true beliefs and become an active participant in the political system. Again, my thing is, I hope she's learned something and can grow from it. Do the work. Like, if you really care, do the work. Like, I don't like these blanketed propaganda talking points about the trans agenda, the America first or Israel first. Like, that's just like talking points. If you have an issue about a specific policy, talk about it. So when she talks about and she addresses the bill, and she opposes the bill on the Epstein stuff, and yeah, it got crushed. But I appreciate those actions more than these performative CNN interviews, and I get to now talk bad about Trump because I helped him get elected in the first place, So I don't trust it because I think that she gets more money by being public. Because yes, there are people who feel like that, who are MAGA, who are now displaced MAGAs, who are now like, yeah, I don't really fuck with what Trump's doing now, and I fuck with Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's speaking out against them. But she's not a great person either. But she gonna sell a book, and those people are gonna buy it. And that's what I'm worried about when it comes to her. So Ro Khanna, I fuck with him, and I'm thinking that he's actually doing real work. He's proposing bills and all that stuff. He's still in the House. So and he's working hard, man. He's everywhere right
Answer.
now.
Let me ask you this question. In 2016, if Bernie was diplomatic towards Trump, would we receive Bernie a different type of way?
Diplomatic towards Trump. He was. I don't think Bernie did anything that was like anti-Trump. Really, I don't think Bernie's
But
not
that
that type of dude.
but that's what I'm asking. Do you prefer anti-Trump, or do you prefer because this is what I'm asking you right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene is kind of, this is why I'm looking at the two. And I'm looking at, if you know who this person is and you align yourself for a coalition with this person, I do kind of look at you when you're about to say he's doing good work. I do want to know what this good work looks like. If we just read our monologue, it's been 2 months since we actually saw anything come
No,
to
but he's
fruition.
actually no. Let's not do that because I also in the monologue we talked about what he's been proposing, and he wants to dismantle the U.S. from Israel and their military operations. He proposed the NDAA. This is very recent. This is as of this month. He um he introduced the floor amendments to the National Defense Authorization Act and aimed to strip out U.S. Israel military technology and integration, forcing a war powers resolution. This is what he's doing about the war. He's also been on every platform I've seen discussing the war and how we need to rail in Israel, how we need to also continually fight for uh, free community college and universal health care. He's and talking about how much it would be spending. He said, listen, the time that we've been on this war, we could have paid for universal health care twice, 3 times already. So he's like he's keeping it a buck everywhere he goes. I don't want to disparage Ro Khanna for trying to bring people into the fold and work with people across the aisle. But I think the question you asked me of, would you, is not how I think about things. Like preferring anti-Trump versus, somebody who's pro-Trump or something. I prefer effective conversation more than anything. And I don't know if MTG is doing that. I don't know. I don't know. I hope that's why I said I'll wait and see if they continue this coalition, and we start to see like effective conversation moving forward with people across the aisle. I can almost be like, all right, I don't agree with her on the transgender and the way she comes off, but maybe she's turning a leaf and she has real conversations now, not just these talking points. And she's been a talking point fucking machine for her entire career. So, and propagandists, let's be real. A lot of the things they say are just complete lies and propaganda. She's still on that trans agenda thing, as if there's a group of people that are saying that we are trying to turn your kids trans. And I think it's completely disingenuous. I think if you do a little bit of more research into that, tell me who those people are, and because her saying that I'm against the trans agenda for our kids is almost like saying that the liberals are for a trans agenda. It's like saying that, yeah, we disagree on a trans agenda, as if that's a real thing. That means these liberals out here are trying to get your kids to be trans.
Well, see, I don't want us to be stuck with. So this is where I do feel like
it's not. But here's the thing: it's not. It's the thought process I'm talking about when it comes to those propaganda points, not necessarily that specific point. You feel me? It's a thought process I have a problem with. If the person who says that on CNN while she's trying to say we're a coalition member is a person who believes in like talking points, who's not willing to sit there and like, okay, how do we effectively strategize to get this Epstein documents released?
But that's also coming from a person, as you just said, who just and up until last January, she didn't voluntarily leave.
They kicked their ass out.
Like they kicked their ass out. So this is a person who not once but twice. Now fool me once, okay. 2016, I'm washing that. I'm washing 2016. But y'all motherfuckers voted for him in 2020 and 2024. The nigga been on the ballot 3 straight presidential cycles. 3 straight. He won, lost, won. That was it. That was
can't get away from this cancer. Yeah,
bro. But what I'm saying, so when I do believe I do ride with you with AOC and the thought process of like, hey, the ideology of this person don't really line up, which is correct because she's already warped. But my thing is, there is
something there.
There is something there.
Some moral.
There is something, and again, we talk about it all the time. It don't hit people until it hits people, right? So when she might know of or heard of or saw the looking likes of the girls that, like, she has a personal attachment somehow, some shape or form to that Epstein stuff. But I think they're for any woman to have bypassed, grab them by the pussy, for any woman who has bypassed the 93 counts and all of this, the sexual assault cases and everything like that, for any woman to bypass the inklings that our president has been linked to Jeffrey Epstein, for then the president to campaign and say, yes, disgusting, hate it, oh my God, I'm the one who got him locked up. But we got to look over these files first before releasing. For what? For what? Well, why do we have to? You just said that the Democrats was holding on to him. You just said that Sleepy Joe and conniving Kamala and all those other names that you said that all those people were the ones redacting information, holding back information, putting him up into maximum security prisons with 24-hour watches and shit like that. You were the ones who made us believe, I'm saying us as a populace, that the Epstein's files was something, a hush-hush elite thing that we as on both sides of the party was agreeing to, but I am the renegade who's gonna bring it all to light. Come to find out, nigga, I'm the renegade running all up through the Epstein files. Nigga, I'm in as many Epstein files, nigga, as the sender of Epstein, nigga. It's like me and him are on both the sender and the subject line. Nigga. I'm in there, like, so Trump can't. This the same thing that we was talking about. You sent me something about Nick Fuentes. Now, I ain't never going to agree with Nick Fuentes like Marjorie Taylor Greene. But when he's bringing up Israel and Netanyahu and how this nigga, he ain't got no choice but to bomb over Baghdad, nigga, because if not, I'm going to jail.
Yeah, we got
like, so these niggas are doing things to keep up. We talk about Netanyahu and Trump, who are tied together at the hip, who both can't do against themselves because it's gonna do themselves in. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, we surrounded by bad apples with power.
Yeah, we are surrounded by bad apples with power, and I believe that we are now in a position where we're in a state right now where we gotta pay attention to who reveals himself as either rotting or ripening. Like there are certain people you can tell the niggas rotten to the core, and there's some niggas that you be like, you look a little rot,
yeah,
but maybe we can
it's some mangoes.
Maybe we can cut the
that gotta
side
sit
off a
out.
little
You know
here
what I
and
mean?
there, and
Yeah.
make sure if you're good enough. Listen, I ain't gonna say good enough to eat, but good enough to present as a real conversation, a real fruit, a real I know this now you're getting crazy, but a serious person.
No,
in
but
politics.
there are fruits that have bruises that are good. To your analogy,
Yeah.
So to your rotten right, bruised right, I can look at somebody because again, there are going to be some fruit looked at on both sides with bruises that are discarded, and you don't want to discard someone off of the outside. Now we do have to test the inside. If you have a moral compass that you're against the forever wars, right? If you have a moral compass that you are against the working class being looked over or being eliminated, if you have a moral compass of the Epstein files, again, those are all the things that affect people that kind of look like you, right? We're talking about white America. We're talking about our boys that's going to war and everything. Not to mention that there are a significant amount of Black and brown people representing the United States of America in the armed forces. So for niggas to be like patriotism and white power and equivocate them to, let's not forget that. Let's go look at the numbers, since you want to talk about numbers. I'm one of them, nigga. It's numbers of people that are Black and brown that represent the red, white, and blue. So for that, I don't even ascribe to that. But that's what people look to. That's what they do.
And that's the thing. Like I think people, I don't know, man. I just feel like people are opportunists. I think there's people who are genuinely fighting and bringing up real facts and having a real conversation with people, and then there are people who are like opportunists who are saying the cool thing to say or things that they can say right now because they get kicked out of the club. I'm going to be skeptical. I think that AOC is very wise to be skeptical because she's somebody who's actually doing the work, who's been in the House with Marjorie Taylor Greene and seen her on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis. So she has a better, beat on her vibe, her energy. I'm not saying that she's not going to change. I think everybody can be redeemed. I truly believe in that. But we gotta wait and see, because I do believe that when she throws in those things like the transgender to play to a base, and still like paint the liberal side in a certain way that's not very accurate, So that's my take on it right now.
Well, I do want to have a real conversation about like when that I know that that's not your sticking point, but I do want to literally have the conversation about who introduced this? Because I know a lot of things go back to, I know you hate to do the Obama and Biden thing, but when people were adverse to gay marriages, right? That was signed executive order, that's legal, that's you don't have to then sneak around and do that. I want to know, what was the launching point? What created this talking point of the not even just transgender as the community, the children? Because to your point of labeling the liberals, I'm not going to say that they're at fault, but I'm not going to say that they didn't oppose. They're not speaking up as loud as, because again, if that's something that's across the aisle, then I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene will be speaking so loudly on that platform. So I just want to know, like, where is this opposition coming from? Like, where did this start? If that's something that we can research on the fly.
I think Kamala Harris definitely should have done a lot better when it comes to the trans conversation. But
Okay.
let me look into it, man, because I don't know where it really started. I says that the historical blueprint protected children, framing LGBTQ plus rights as a threat to children is a well-documented political tactic. In 1977, singer Anita Bryant launched Save Our Children campaign in Florida. Of course, Florida. Her
It's got to
movement
be Florida.
pioneered her movement pioneered a rhetoric that gay people were trying to recruit and psychologically harm minors. This fundamental framing, positioning any form of LGBTQ plus visibility or acceptance as sinister plot against children, was later applied to same-sex marriage debates in 2000s and directly laid the groundwork for the trans agenda narrative. So you're right. It's a thread for a while, and then they mentioned like Obama, legalizing gay marriage, that they made it like, oh, we're saying that the kids can do this now. It's like putting it in their face. The thing about it is that I think that people just want to shame gay people. I think that especially when it comes to religion, people who are very indoctrinated in religion, especially Christianity, Islam, all religions. Let's be real. They just don't really
Yes. Yeah.
um, give they don't acknowledge the existence of homosexual individuals. They just kind of like, that's an abomination, and that's a you problem that you need to change almost. There's been gay conversion therapy, like a lot of sick shit, when to me it's not hurting nobody if you're gay. It's not hurting nobody if you're trans, as long as you're not trying to force it on other people. Now, post 2015, following the 2015 Supreme Court decision, Ober, sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, but Oberfell versus Hodges, which legalized same-sex marriages. I think this was the, the hold up. The National Conservative Organization and Christian legal groups lost a primary fundraising and voter mobilization issue, the test balloon. Groups like the Alliance Defending Freedom and Family Research Council shifted resources towards transgender issues. Early efforts include the mid 2010s bathrooms bill, such as North Carolina's HB2. And then focusing on these conservative strategists realized that while public
What's
opinion
that?
heavily.
I'm so sorry. What's the bathroom bill? I'm so sorry. What is the bathroom bill for people who don't know what the bathroom bill?
Let me
Were you about
explain
to read
that.
that? Okay, because I do remember that as a launching pad, and this
Yeah.
goes back to my ignorance back then. If we're talking 2015, like if we want to talk about digital footprints, I didn't have a podcast back then, but it was definitely conversations happening in the barbershop and in the living
I'm glad we're
room.
having this conversation, because it is. We did not plan this, but Marjorie triggered us into this. Shout out to my MTG for her trans agenda comment. But the term bathroom bill refers to a wave of state level legislation introduced primarily in the mid 2010s that sought to restrict access to sex segregated public facilities, such as restrooms and changing rooms, based strictly on a person's biological sex assigned at birth rather than their gender identity. The primary target of these bills was transgender individuals, particularly transgender women. So people who were men who turned into women. The catalyst was in Houston and North Carolina. While several states introduced similar measures, two major political battles defined the bathroom bill era. In Houston Hero Ordinance back in 2015, the city of Houston passed a broad non-discrimination ordinance. Opponents lost a successful repeal campaign using the slogan "No men in women's bathrooms," sparking a national political focus on public restrooms. And then in
So
2016,
so there was no distinction that so with that ruling that if you went to a Chili's or Applebee's or whatever, there was no distinction of a men's bathroom, women bathroom. It was just the men, women / sign type thing. Is that kind of what I'm interpreting as? There was no distinction of men and women bathroom for that particular ruling.
the let me get more information on it. Broad
Because
non-discrimination.
that that I never
Okay, and then North
really.
Carolina officially called the Public Facilities Privacy and Security Act. North Carolina passed the HB2 in response to the city of Charlotte expanding LGBTQ plus protections. HB2 became the first law in the nation to explicitly mandate that people in government buildings and public schools must use restrooms corresponding to the sex on their birth certificate. So that's the opposite. Um,
Okay,
so
okay,
so
so
yeah,
that's the Bible Belt. That's
North
considered,
Carolina,
that,
yeah.
that North Carolina is in that, and so we talking about God, country, core. That's what the Marine Corps is. God, country, core. Like the country is wrapped in religion, a religion that, again, like you said, is the majority of Christianity, but also to those in practicing Islamic faith and everything like that. They do not, as you said, identify with homosexuality as something that falls in the ideology of faith, of their faith, right? So if you are gay, you can't be religious, is what essentially that falls from, right? What I am trying to right now, then, when she's talking about a trans agenda, it seems, as you say, the expansion of the LGBTQIA plus community, the expansion of their rights, which there is a necessity for them, just like it was a necessity for the Asian hate bill, right? The expansion of the rights for people that are a minority, right? There is nothing wrong with that. I don't believe that there should be in schools, elementary schools, high schools, in government buildings that are under there should be, there should be a distinction. You can identify, but biologically, if you are of that, you still use, gender binary specific changing rooms. I don't know if I'm trying to. I think, like, if you aren't 17 because you are still under your parents' care, you're still in high school, or even 18 because you haven't graduated. Let's go there. I do believe that you should identify to what you were biologically born as until you have the ability to make the changes of your own as a self-providing adult to then biologically change into what you identify as.
I would
Is that
love to
safe?
speak. I hear you. I would love to speak to a trans person on this topic because I honestly never fully understood this debate. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to speak out of turn because I never really understood this debate. If I was making the rules, honestly, like I would be more like you, where it's like, okay, when you're an adult, you could change your gender, because I don't think that you do the work, like, and research. If you by that time you're 18 years old, hopefully that you are sure about this. I don't think gender reassignment surgery under any circumstance should be considered for anybody unless it was an emergency, you know, where this person might be suicidal if they're not feeling like themselves, and but I mean for the
Even
longest
then, that's a loop.
times
But even then, that might be a loophole because
it
we
would,
can't.
it's
It's two
true,
things.
it's
It's two
true,
things niggas can't test: your mind and your back.
you
The
true,
doctor
you
don't.
true,
The doctor don't know
and
what's going on here.
so when I look at that, like I just believe, like, unless, like, to me, like if there was like a suicide attempt previously, that's what I mean, like, respectfully, um like when I look at that, I think that it's such a big decision to change your gender that I do think that you should be an adult to make that. I don't think we should have any, and I don't even think parents should be approving it in my mind, because I don't think that it's a easy choice. And I want to be also understanding of that. I want to just be real. Like for the longest time in history, we didn't even have this option. It was just cross dressing. We didn't have the technology to change somebody's gender. Let's be real. So what did those people do? They just probably would just cross dress and identify as a different gender, and I don't want to dismiss the experience of a transgender person because I don't know what they're going through. But to me, like, I don't get why the bathroom issue is such a big deal, but but I don't know. I'm ignorant to it. So I'm just being real. I'm
Oh,
just ignorant to
the,
it.
the, the first transgender, the first recorded gender affirming surgery, because transgender might be offensive, so that is gender affirming. So the first recorded gender affirming surgery was performed in 1930.
Okay.
1930, 1931 in Berlin at the Institute for Sexual Science under sexologist Magnus Hirschfeld. German transgender woman Dora Richard and Lily Elby underwent early pioneering operations during this period. So we have, to your point, we're about 100 years or so, right? Which is still, again, fairly new of the technology. But there were documented in Germany, UK, and Denmark in subsequent decades. So 1930 was the first in Germany, 1940 was the UK, when it was the first person to transition from female to male, receiving that surgery in 1942. And then uh, Christine Georgeson became the most widely publicized recipient of early sex reassignment surgery in Copenhagen, in Denmark, in 1951. So I believe that Danish person became the most famous and recognizable sex affirming person after having successful surgery. So to your point, we are still young with the research and the knowledge and the technology of how young, because again, exposing to people's argument. I grew up during in that South during that time, even in Buffalo, New York, when Obama was, president, and he made that happen. Everybody accepted gay. We knew people that was gay. We accepted people that was gay. People went to church that were gay. We did not want to cast aspersions because we, as Christians, did not believe that that was right. We thought that that was a misstep spoken in the Bible. We took the Bible and made interpolations of what was said to then now fit what today meant, because we don't want to cast anybody out, right? So with that being said, having your children exposed to what gay is, or homosexuality is, or sex affirming is not necessarily something that is. I think a lot of people is like, well, I want to explain it to my children when I want to explain it to them. That's fine. That's completely fine. But I do believe that if the world has had this change, this switch, this ideology narrative, have like, there is, again, we're speaking about Pride Month, right? The community is celebrated, and it's not thrown in. You go onto Disney app right now, Disney Plus app, there is a bar where you can go and tap Pride, and they will then take you to all the shows and episodes or whatever that they made to be inclusive, right? So I don't want to be on the outside looking in of inclusivity. Am I saying that word?
Yeah, inclusivity. Yeah. Listen,
What's up, brother?
I just think that you have to come to terms with the fact that science has gotten to the point where there's not necessarily a homosexuality gene, but there is significant pinnings biologically that can show that you have a tendency to be homosexual. So on some level, this is not something that's just like we're teaching the kids, you know? So I think that if we take into context science, there's nothing to be fearful of unless you are
Correct.
predisposed to that, maybe biologically somehow, and you are like, oh man, I don't want you to make me gay, and you're showing me gay stuff on TV. Stop it, because I'm now compelled to do it. That kind of stuff is like that's what we talk about with trying to build it, this repressed homosexuality that turns into a different hate for people and people that are minorities.
But they do use that. They use that argument with some level of credibility, because they use it with our music, right? They say, hey, people listen to this music and are inclined to do bad things. They do that with our video games. They play these video games and are they're inclined to do these things, right? They have used this same rhetoric and legislation and judgments and sentencings have gave them the validity to say that same thing about this particular case. If I'm predisposed to something, I am now then inclined to possibly engage. That is, and if it's biological, or if it's something that, and like alcoholism can be passed down genetically.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so
you're more predisposed. I've heard people like, yeah, I have alcoholism in my family, so I try not to drink. Not that they are alcoholic because they don't drink, but they know that their tendency is to, So
and it is homophobic. It is homophobia to say, yeah, I got some homophobia in my family. I'm pretty. I don't even fuck with that shit. Like,
to me, I mean, it's like that is homophobic, but like to me, it's like, bro, this is not like it's gonna kill you. Like alcoholism will kill you, like, but like if you like, I know it sounds good. It's not gonna kill you, like you
got that. I gotta find that joke. It might kill you. It's a joke when a nigga calls into a show like us. He calls in. He was like, "Hey man, I took me a perk, man, and I was on the toilet, man. and I couldn't shit, man. And then all of a sudden, it came out my asshole was hurt. That first thing I thought about, is that what gay men do? Because they some strong motherfuckers.
Yo, man, yeah. But he didn't die. He just, it hurt. That's all. But my thing is like I'm a straight man, so I don't have those urges, But
You're right.
for people who
You're
have
right.
those urges, like that's why they say it's a spectrum. Like it's like it's not the end of the world, Like I guess the judgment is like the biggest thing, and it's about the evolution of the consciousness of people because people used to get bullied for being gay back in the day, and now that is a little bit more accepted, although it still happens, but. I think it's a lot less. You just talked about Saucy Santana appearing on the Ken News podcast. If this was 20 years ago, bro, like I don't see no NFL person doing a show and bringing on any like complete homosexual to just discuss different topics. And that shows to the growth of society. And I think we're on the precipice of growing with this trans issue. And I think what Marjorie, to bring it back to Marjorie's children, I think her perspective on it, one, it labels liberals as all one blanket thing that's as if it's an agenda, as if they want your kids to be trans, which is insane to me. Like so, the propaganda of what she said is insane to me. That what does that benefit? Like so that's one thing. But trying to give trans people more rights or seeing them as human beings shouldn't be a problem. And that's what it also speaks to is that she has an issue with people trying to give trans people human rights, and make sure that they're seen as a group that that shouldn't be ostracized and should be taken seriously when it comes to health, when it comes to access and treatment and civil liberties. So if you are having an honest conversation, you're not just going to lump it like, I don't agree with the liberals on trans agenda. It just sounds stupid to me. It sounds disingenuous. And it does. It sounds like you're still the same person who is going to, be really bigoted and really trying to play to a base to say, hey guys, I'm not with that trans stuff. Just so just even though I'm talking to Rokana, I'm still not with that trans stuff. Like and like as if they're trying to come for your kids and make them trans. I don't think that's what's happening
it's
here.
as if Rokana is on the agenda of. I mean, I don't know what that's what I'm asked. That's what I would think I was asking. Like, has any Democrat like went on against what we're saying? And like that's what, like you said, Kamala didn't do a good job. For those who, again,
they smeared her, saying that she was going to give people in jail free trans reassignment surgery, which is insane. That's not true. And they did a whole ad, and they ran with it.
Did she fight against that?
I assume she probably did, but maybe not hard enough.
But that's what I think. So if she didn't, if that for us who would have voted for Kamala, I don't give a fuck what her policies was. I don't give a fuck what she could have said. That
do you? If you fight against it, are you giving it more attention than it needs to? If it's a lie, and that's the tough thing.
Well, I think to your point is if it's okay. So we as Democrats have harped on a lot of the things that were the truths. How did that help us?
You know
what I'm saying?
Read that.
Us as Democrats, the politicians and what they campaign and platform themselves on, they were loud about the truths, right? They were Trump this, he's doing this, they're going to do this with Project 25. They didn't necessarily, they were trying to cut through the lies with truths without addressing the lies, which I think would have been, to me, in your point now, we're not talking a year, 2 years later, asking like, did she even combat that? Because my point is, I don't care if she didn't or did not. What I'm saying is, if she did not, that gives them the reason to continue with whatever agenda that they have. And nobody has ever came out against it because like, we're going to let that die. It clearly has not died. And it's something that people have made a living campaign and money off of a lie that hasn't been addressed. I think That's a misstep still on the Democratic, not just Kamala, on the Democratic Party.
It's what the conservatives do. They play into fear a lot, and they find a narrative that's global, whether it's hey immigration, they're making your country worse, and they're not hurting your culture. Be afraid of your jobs. They're going to be bringing crime and drugs. Hey, they're making your kids gay and they're making your kids turn trans. Like they're never like saying, hey man, let's fix the school system. They're like, no, don't, let's fight against these other people, that are, different than you and ignore everything that actually affects your life. Like we're talking so long about this, but trans people are 1% of the population. And I think it's fair to say that this is used to distract because people will make that their number one issue when it's typically not going to affect their life. Especially, it most likely won't, and I think also it plays into a bigotry that is and a homophobia that is not good to have. Let's say your kid is gay. Why is that like the worst thing in the world? And are you gonna blame a liberal? Oh, you made my kid gay.
Well, hold on. Let's okay. So with that, let's use this as a springboard for our next topic. I know you've been waiting, but
no, I got my transition already. But go ahead.
But what I'm trying to see is niggas looked at another person's skin and did that, right? So to your point of you're like when you saying if somebody is gay, why would that matter?
No, I'm not saying that it's not happening. I'm saying it is happening.
Yeah.
I'm saying that it's not right for that to be so effective, that you can scare somebody by saying, hey guys, they're trying to get your kid gay, and you're like, oh, close my pearls. You're right. I'm gonna vote for you because you're gonna save my kid from being gay. It's sick to me. It's almost like it goes back to this ignorance and this anti-intellectual stuff that if you just think a little bit further and you realize, hey man, your healthcare is being cut while they're saying this to you by the same person who vote for it until you're saying, no, your kid's gonna be gay. You have to weigh it and you're like, okay, listen, I'll take the gay kid if they can go to the hospital. Like that's like to me, like it's just logic. It's just so logical. But to close and put a pin on this though, real quick. The narrative gained mainstream attraction by capitalizing on genuine global debates within pediatric medicine. As a number of youth identifying as transgender rose, major European medical bodies such as UK's Tavistock Clinic Review and health authorities in Sweden and Finland began urging caution regarding puberty blockers and hormones. Conservative media used these medical developments to argue that American liberals, major medical associations, and Biden administration were ignoring science to push a harmful, irreversible political ideology onto kids. By synthesizing legitimate medical complexities with a historical save our children panic, political strategies successfully established the trans agenda as a highly effective mainstream conservative talking point.
Okay. Again, nobody combated that when we're working with the.
I think it's about time too. I think it's maybe they didn't do it enough, but I think it's about time.
But what I'm saying is when the Biden administration is working with WHO, right? When we're coming up with this big coronavirus, like when everything is
that's another thing that's anti-intellectual. Like we've had vaccines for ages, bro.
I know, but hold on. But has they ever been produced that quickly? Scientists have also so we can't use science on one side. We're like, oh, you're so dumb, and we have other scientists that are like, hey, man, vaccines they never. Okay,
that's because it's a vaccine, and apparently they need to put something out because niggas was dying and the whole shit, everything got shut down. Has vaccines been deployed as fast as the coronavirus vaccine was deployed? Because I don't know the time frame of vaccines. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know, but I'm not gonna say like you all those fast.
No, I mean, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I'm listening to there are scientists. All scientists weren't saying the same thing. Right, it wasn't like a unanimous like we're all on board, you know what I mean? So you have scientists on both sides, but what you get?
No, no, no vaccine has
No.
ever been deployed as quickly as the coronavirus vaccines. The timeline: scientists went from genetically sequencing the novel SARS-CoV-2 virus in the early 2020 to administering the first authorized vaccines in less than 12 months. The previous record holder was the mumps vaccine in the 1960s, which required about 4 years of research to approval. Most standard vaccines historically take 10 to 15 years to develop and deploy. How the COVID-19 vaccine broke the mold? The unprecedented speed of COVID vaccine rollout was driven by a combination of factors. The Myrna technology researchers had already been studying and testing messenger RNA vaccine platforms over a decade. This allowed them to design a vaccine candidate almost immediately after the virus genetic code was mapped. So once they got the genetic code of the virus, they were able to use that with this method, which is a new technology, the mRNA technology. So massive funding and collaboration, unprecedented global financial backing, such as the roughly $10 billion provided by the United States government. Operation Warp Speed allow pharmaceutical companies to manufacture doses and take financial risks before the vaccines were officially proven to be effective. Overlapping trial phases. Instead of conducting clinical trial phases sequentially, phases overlapped, and regulatory agencies like the FDA reviewed trial results on a rolling basis using emergency use authorization to avoid normal administrative wait times.
So to the right side, there was legislation, there was moving the goalpost of the time, like there was money being spent, there was no asking, can this be done? There was, for what? You said, who was losing money, nigga? You talking about the middle class that was already in the point of being, like, so you talking about
if the country was shut down for 4 years until they got it right, it's a hard time for a lot of people, bro. It could collapse a lot. But I'm not saying that you shouldn't wait 4 years. I'm just saying that there's a lot. The country is losing. The globe is losing a lot.
But not if we're, now this is my point, and this is the right's point. God damn, hold on. This is the right's point. If we have to stay home, if we only can deal with things at an need basis, will we then be able to take care of home? Identify the problems, identify the root causes, identify where our allies lie, or whatever the case may be. Are we then able to see what we have seen? Because what happened, a lot of people, smart people, did not vibe with how fast the government moved, and which the government was talking to other other nations to get this approved, where all this money came from. Now you talk about $10 billion was spent. That is also including on top of what we were losing. So when we're talking about this national, I don't know if that attributed to the national debt, considering that we're at 40 trillion, and I think 10 billion ain't shit, because last time we did the math, 3 trillion was 300 billion.
Listen, like going back to the anti-trusting of Joe Biden administration with the, working with the World Health Organization. We're here now in 2026. We have the results. The vaccine worked remarkably well. So at the end of the day, we have the studies, we have the information. Look it up, and you'll see that, okay, yes, it was quick, but did it work? It did.
So to their point,
no, I get the hesitancy. I was hesitant too. I didn't take the vaccine until 2022, maybe. I didn't take it for like 2 years, bro.
I think now, so to use the smart against the smart, if they can move without our jurisdiction, and I'm not saying that they will. This is not me. This is not. I'm just presenting an argument that they're not articulating, which I'm picking up on. When they're talking about these puberty stopping things that's happening over in the UK and happening over, we do business with them. Our scientists was just with them. We were just collaborating with them. Like when, like, and you say it works fast.
I can't conflate the two though. In my brain,
I'm not saying that you can't.
I know, but like I'm having a hard time even comprehending. Oh, you know,
but they can put it in anything, bro. They can put it in anything.
The mistrust of the vaccine. You think that they're putting the hormone blockers in the vaccine?
No, I'm saying I am not saying that. I'm saying I can see what they are saying. We don't, because some of the vaccines was just a placebo. We heard that. Some people was just getting a placebo. They weren't even getting the actual vaccine. And we were getting our car stamps in and we got the vaccine. You know, like, so there is a situation where we're talking about bioengineered food right now. We're talking about fake fruit. We're talking about everything that is in, and they can put something in your kid's medicine. I don't know if it's directly in the vaccine, Chidi, but shit, it could be something in the kids' Tylenol. It could be something in the kids' Motrin. I don't know, but that's what the fuck they're talking about.
This is where we go with this. We gotta at some point get to a society that has, hey, let's look into this, rather than they could do this and I believe it for 100%, and then they just go and they just think, oh, there's some crazy agenda, you know, and take that thought,
just
putting two brain cells together that might connect but don't really, and then say that's my truth and just go with it. You got to get to a point where you do your research and you start to think critically. It's like we're losing the critical thought here. Guys, I'm not afraid of the trans problem with kids. Personally, I don't. I'm not saying that kids should, get gender reassignment treatments and hormone blockers at a young age, because I do think that should be. I think it's a case by case scenario. I think it's very rarely where a kid should be able to get access to that, but that's just me. That's my opinion. But that's me having a real conversation and me saying, that's my opinion on the transgender, because I'm genuinely seeing them as people who might need help medically, and I see them as kids who are innocent, who might need some more time to figure out what's going on with their body, figure out what's going on with their mind, and then when they're adult, see where it goes with that. That's me having an honest, critical thought when it comes to that, not just saying, oh my God, this is a transgender. I don't trust COVID-19.
But you're also talking about people who don't believe in mental health. You're also talking about Robert F. Kennedy, who's being assigned to the Department of Individuals with Disability Education Act, right? Where he's saying autism is, like, you are talking about a group tank, a think tank, a group of think tank individuals who don't understand the psychological. And we're also talking about people, again, tying into when you said using logic. The logic behind people hating Black people was because it was said that God made them darker because he hated us. Yeah. Like that was that. You know what I'm saying? Like that was quick,
I don't want to spread misinformation, because no, the general public was not receiving placebos of the vaccine. Every dose was distributed to the public contained the active vaccine. The only people who actually received placebos, usually a harmless saline solution, were volunteers participating in the official clinical research trials, which is the standard scientific method used to prove a vaccine's efficacy before public release. Once the vaccines were authorized, even those trial placebo recipients were unblinded and offered the real vaccine.
So we still had a trial period then without having a trial period.
The widespread internet rumors claiming the public rollout included placebo batches or that the vaccine was entirely fake placebo arose from a few specific sources and misunderstandings. Misinterpretation. So first was the misinterpretation of the control groups in clinical trials. Early in the rollout, news networks heavily covered the mechanics of the Pfizer and Moderna clinical trials. Media coverage explained that half of the 40,000 plus trials, volunteers received a placebo. Some of the social media users misunderstood this scientific context, falsely claiming that this practice was continuing into mass public distribution. Politicians and celebrity vials. When politicians and public figures were televised receiving their shots in late 2020 and 2021 to build public trust, online conspiracy theorists alleged that they were being injected with saline placebos rather than the real vaccine. This rumor spread rapidly across TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, and Facebook, driven by the belief that leaders knew the vaccine was dangerous and were faking their own vaccinations. Um, because some people experienced severe fatigue or sore arms after the shot, while others felt entirely normal, the rumor circulated that those who felt fine must have received a dud or a placebo batch. In reality, immune systems respond differently to identical active ingredients. In early 2021, the highly viral document circulated on alternative online forums claiming to reveal a global game plan or conspiracy behind the pandemic. As Reuters fact check documented at the time, this hoax explicitly told readers that the public vaccines were merely placebos and the virus itself was a hoax. And anti-vaccination organizations and public figures have long leveraged arguments surrounding placebo testing to sow doubt about public vaccine safety. For years, debates about whether the updated booster formulas should undergo new, lengthy placebo trials versus comparing them to existing vaccine formulas frequently made headlines. This highly technical medical ethics debate was frequently distorted online into rumors that the government was secretly experimenting on the public with placebos. So there's the fact check real time.
You can do the fact check and say that there was no we can't do two, you can but I can't. Ethical maneuvering of a vaccine and saying that there was no mixing of placebos before public use is fine to say, but there were use of them during the phase or the trial phase that wasn't a trial phase. Those volunteers were actively being participatory in trying to again move along what you said was the fastest moving vaccine known in mankind. So um, there wasn't
Well,
out
you
the
need you,
air.
you
You
do need you well
as you
yeah, yeah, you do need like a you do need like a control group sometimes, when you're doing a trial phase, so that's the way I look at it. It's science. It's just not, to me, it's not that crazy. Think of it like a clinical trial testing like a high performance running shoe. Like, for instance, if you give the new shoe to 100 runners and they all run fast, you cannot prove it was a shoe. So they might as well just be naturally fast, or track the conditions might not have been perfect that day. To prove the shoe actually works, you need a baseline for comparison. The active group gets 50 runners a new high-tech shoe. The placebo group, you give 50 runners a fake shoe that looks identical, but use standards basic foam. So that's how they did it. So you take people with it, give them placebo, see how they respond to it, give another group, the actual vaccine, and then you see how they respond and say, okay, there's a difference. It's working for these people. Let's go. That's how it worked. But you know, I know we got wrong around along the beaten path. But with this coalition with Rokana and Marjorie Greene, what they did not talk about, while everybody was like talking about their CNN interview, they did not talk about the rules that were changing real time that are not in the favor of our people. And that is what we like to call, what I'm going to tell you is the disparate impact clause that um, has been revoked by Donald Trump. So today we're going to show you two types of inequality, so you guys can understand what disparate impact is and why this executive order is problematic.
Disparate impact is when neutral, non-discriminatory policies or practices that treat people equally still leads to disproportionate results. That is distinct from disparate treatment, which is when the law, policies, and practices, as they're actually written, treat people differently because of protected traits such as race and sex. The problem is when a policy is non-discriminatory in its intent and application, but still leads to undesirable racial or other politically uncomfortable outcome or disparate impact. For example, the Fair Housing Act of 1968 bans discrimination because of race, color, and sex, among other traits, during home sales, rental arrangements, or housing-related financing. However, landlords, brokers, and lenders are still free to consider other factors such as criminal records and credit history. Under disparate impact theory, unlawful discrimination is presumed if a landlord rejects applicants because of poor credit and that race-neutral practice results in, for example, less Hispanic applicants being approved. To avoid disparate impact liability, landlords and lenders might therefore eliminate or water down reasonable standards if those standards have a disparate impact. Or take, for example, a situation in which non-discriminatory discipline policies for school misconduct result in more black children receiving detention than, say, Asian children. A disparate treatment analysis might suggest that black students are misbehaving at higher rates than Asian students. However, a disparate impact analysis would presume discrimination, making a school district liable for civil rights violations. Unfortunately, disparate impact can encourage covered entities like schools to adopt covert quotas, which are themselves discriminatory, to ensure they achieve a racially balanced outcome. So, instead of addressing an imbalance in misbehavior rates, schools are perversely incentivized by disparate impact theory to excuse classroom disruption on the basis of race. Ironically, in the context of student discipline and crime, those hurt most by disparate impact theory are other students and neighborhood residents, most of the same race, who want to learn and who want to live in safety. Disparate impact advocates claim that to truly provide equal opportunity for everyone, especially for those who are disadvantaged, it's important to directly address persistently disparate outcomes. Moreover, they claim evidence of discriminatory treatment is difficult to uncover, and the Supreme Court has approved disparate impact analysis when a law has effects-based language. For example, a policy adversely affects someone negatively on the basis of their race. Disparate impact opponents argue equal opportunity requires the elimination or at least diminishment of barriers, such as race discrimination, to participate in government, business, and civil society. That the effort to make outcomes equal requires authoritarian and discriminatory measures that cause more harm than good. And that disparate impact theory turns our civil rights laws on their head by essentially requiring practices, such as establishing quotas, that are exactly what the law prohibit. Both sides assert that their theory is the only way to achieve justice and fairness. Join the conversation in the comments below.
All right. So, as we talk about this coalition and everybody's talking about the Iran war, Epstein files, we'll talk about the federal budget and all that stuff. I think what's being lost and what kind of gets on my skin is, in the spirit of Juneteenth, is how there's been an intentional rollback of civil rights for minorities and especially Black people in this country, as we mentioned in the opening. And tonight I just wanted to bring light to that, because last week we were talking about the conversation with Gary Chambers and Charles Tatum. I mean, or the Officer Tatum, whatever his name. Um,
His mama named him Charles. I'm gonna call him Charles.
is his name Charles?
I don't know. Where'd you get Charles Tatum from?
I don't know, man. I have no idea. I think it's Brandon or something. I
Oh,
forgot.
Brandon,
Messed up.
Brandon.
Yeah, my bad. But yeah, Officer Tatum, bro. That Brandon. So, and he says we're not slaves anymore, and I get the connotation of what he's saying, but it's a thing that we see repeatedly. People think that just because black people are not in chains anymore, that there's almost like this. They don't believe in systemic racism, and they don't want to see it. So they think that just black people are just complaining and they just gotta work hard and pull themselves up by their bootstraps. But we got fucking receipts. You know, there is a through line between the abolishment of slavery, the Civil Rights Act, and where we are today, where they're now removing laws to make things more um, equitable in this country. I think first, me and you got to start from the standpoint that America is a majority white country who clearly has no incentive to make it more equitable for people because they want to control us. And I think that's something it's a harsh reality that I think we gotta come to terms with that. I think that when we come to terms with that, then we start to realize why there has never been reparations. But we do know who got reparations. Slave owners did. Then we start to realize why, they intended to do redlining and prevent certain communities from, able to get loans. Um, and when we talk about these things, it's not to garner any type of sympathy, but it's to live in the realities of this country so that we can move forward. Last year, Donald Trump removed. Let me see if I can find it actually. Okay, I mean, before we continue, actually, um,
What's up?
I'm sorry, I want to get the actual date that this happened. I'm sorry, but yeah, 2025, April 14th, I think it was. Basically, Donald Trump removed this. There's two ways to prove something of discrimination in this country. So I think that if we're starting from the basis of, sorry, if we're starting from the basis of like, all right, we want America to be more just. We start from the basis that America has multiracial country, and we want everybody to have an equal opportunity to get a job, get health care, get a loan, get a house, all types of things. If we're starting from that basis, then we would have to weed out people who are not abiding by the culture set within our Constitution, within our Supreme Court. And we have had laws in place that have made it so that you don't need specific, clear evidence of racial discrimination by it being a hot smoking gun of a voice recording of someone saying, I'm not giving this person a house because they're black, or a note, a memo, or a, you know, whatever, some evidence like that, hard evidence. All you need to do is prove that they have a certain criteria that you got to hit that disproportionately affects a certain type of group of people. And if they can't prove why they need that criteria, then it is deemed a disparate impact criteria, and you can sue for racial discrimination. And that company will have to change its policy. That's the ordinance that we've been living under for some time now. I'm going to go ahead and look into the dates so I can get them clear. But Chris, your thoughts on it?
Um, I have I think my question, or my not my question, but my comment is that when these are happening, um, there isn't something that we're as Black Americans, um, we're not crying wolf, as far as what it is that we are looking for. America as the country, it's not foreign to them to pay reparations, and we're not even talking about the slave owners, right? We're talking about the Japanese Americans after World War II. The federal government issued a formal apology and paid 20,000 in cash payments to roughly 60,000 surviving incarcerees, totaling over $1.2 billion. The Native American tribes for mismanagement of their land. They've got payments in 1971 where they got 44 million acres of land and nearly 1 billion to the Alaskan natives. In 1980, the Supreme Court ordered 105 million, now worth over 120 million with inflation, paid to the 8 tribes for illegal seizures of the Black Hills. And in 2016, Obama administration finalized $492 million settlement to the 17 tribes for national for the natural resource mismanagement. Like so, like in like real in life, like generational lifetime, we've seen it happen.
And I thought you were
To
going to
where
go to what's going on in Iran. They're getting reparations for all the things that we've done to them. There's a $300 billion fund putting in place for all the reparations of all the bombing we've done and dismantling their government.
so um when we feel less than, when we feel devalued, when we're crying out and screaming out and being abrasive and being, when we look and sound like Jasmine Crockett, right? Right? The when that passion just erupts as of like, you don't see, hear what's going on, you don't scroll past, you don't, nothing comes across your algorithm. And to be quite honest, i'm I'm sorry, it has not for a lot of people. There is and I was one included. I am forcing myself to actively get involved into this algorithm. I am actively changing my YouTube algorithm, actively changing that we have a different channel directly off the, I mean, socials for Instagram and TikTok. So our algorithm can be of different caliber so we can receive this information, because this is done in plain sight.
Hmm.
This is done in the middle of the night, and the scrolling that we're doing is not on C-SPAN. The scrolling that we're doing doesn't have this on our algorithm when this is getting done in the middle of the night. And now I happen to be up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And when they're doing deals, or a nigga that took a flight out to China, or when there's another bombing happening in real time, I'm like, damn. You know what I mean? Because it's happening right then.
You're
When a signature is being
you're
signed, it's happening right then.
you you're waking up, and to me, I think it's a beautiful thing to see you be socially conscious. Because I remember back in the day with us, and I'm going crazy about shit in our room when we were roommates, and you're like, nigga, who cares? Like, why are you caring about this stuff? But it trickles down to us, man. Like
It
these
does.
things that are
It
going
does.
on, when we say, man, why can't I fucking get a house? I did everything right, bro. My credit is right. I did everything right. Why can't I get a job? Yo, I'm doing everything right, man. Why can't I do like, why can't I get approved for this surgery, right? I did everything right. And you start to realize that, damn, they removed they eliminated the enforcement of the Disparate Act. It's a legal doctrine that requires removal of unjustifiable barriers that prevent people from getting fair opportunities. It's the exact tool that catches things like lending gaps and where no lender admits it intent, but the outcome is always racially skewed. So like when you see that places of power, like because we gotta work together, guys. Like as black people, we have to work for somebody to get a living, right? You've already bombed when we tried to work together ourselves and make black owned business at Black Wall Street and make our economy grow. The only time that's ever America's bombed itself is to bomb black people who were making advancements financially. This is intentional, guys. So when we have people like Offers Tatum say these things, I'm like, bro, it kills
Well,
me because
well, I have a. Oh, go ahead, land.
because
I'm sorry.
I think there's a lack of knowledge when it comes to these things because it's like, bro, we're not talking about being slaves and picking cotton and being in chains and somebody owning us and thinking like we're owned. We're talking about a system that has constantly set us behind and is doing it again now, right under our nose. This is 2025, guys. So when we talked to Officer Tatum, we said, hey man, they took out the Disparate Act. That means that they can discriminate for black people to get houses. That means that they can discriminate for black people to get jobs. And the only way they can, sue if it's about race is if somebody says they're racist. If you can prove that they are not hiring black people for a criteria that, you know, is unfounded to the job, that's not necessarily, a real criteria, it doesn't matter. What does he say to that? He probably is gonna find some reason to excuse
But
that shit.
we and you, we argued, and you will probably call me an Officer Tate ass nigga when we use that implication and same rhetoric about the Rooney Rule, right? I know this isn't the same thing, but if they
No,
eliminate the Rooney Rule,
that's no, it's
they
kind
would
of similar.
eliminate they exactly they will be eliminating they would be eliminating something that is inherent that just gives the interview, right? And so
But I would be okay with that if they gave us reparations. You know what I mean? All right, you gave the people of you've atoned for racism. You've atoned for slavery. You said, you know what, it's not right to do this, and we want to change the culture of America, and we want to give people reparations. So now we want to start a clean slate. Let's help the people who built this country and the descendants of people who built it. Let's give them the generational wealth that they lost. Maybe they could start a company that I could work for a black man, and we can start.
what's the generational? But what is so? It's roughly 49 million Black Americans in the United States. What is the number?
I mean that takes some math, bro. I don't know what the math is.
I,
We can do
I
some
know,
research
but
right
I mean,
now.
now I'm saying
But
generational math. I mean, generate what? Because we
but
said the
but my
generational
my
gap
larger point is
is.
this: it
Go
can
ahead.
be
Go ahead.
done.
Go
My
ahead.
larger point is that it can be done. It can, even if it's incremental. If it's not, you don't gotta do a whole fucking boom, $800 billion for black people. Like I'm not saying like just smack them over the head with money right now. I'm saying this could be an intentional stipend
No, do
given
that.
over time. I mean, if they have it, cool. If you can.
The reason why I'm saying do that is because the reason why I'm saying do that, to your point, is to wipe the slate clean.
But
Be-
yeah,
be-
if
the-
the if
if
but
the-
if it's gonna tank the economy for the entire government, maybe you can find a way around it that doesn't do that. Like I mean, mind you, I don't think that I think they can do it. They just give 300 billion to
but
Iran. I
that's
think
what
they can do it. You
exactly.
know,
So that's what I'm saying. So if we read in our notes, I'm sorry to keep, but I'm just rapping. If we said in our notes right now that the net worth gap between white Americans and black Americans is $1 million. If they say
give
we're going
every
to close
black
that,
person $1 million.
every black person $1 million to close that gap, is that
Well,
enough? Because some niggas gonna say that's not enough.
some wouldn't. Some people don't even want the money. They up. Like, oh, thanks, I'm up. Joe Budden don't care. You know.
Yo, Joe
But
Million's like, fuck that $1 million, put me in a different tax bracket, bitch.
exactly, and that's what it's gonna do for everybody, you know. But hey, we're up, you know. But here's what's gonna happen: they don't want to piss off them Confederate white people who are suffering right now. Oh my God, every black person gets $1 million to change the wealth gap. Oh, they didn't deserve it. They didn't earn it. And that's what they're afraid of. Not that, no, first of all, they are afraid. They don't want to do that. They don't want black people getting a leg up. They want to keep us under the thumb. So it's not even like trying to just appease to a base. They themselves don't want it. But to even make it harder, where you're like, oh, now they can't even prove that it's discrimination. So we just get to discriminate, and just as long as we don't say it, like Trump can just do mad shit. As long as he don't say I'm racist, they're not gonna say, hey, he's racist. They're gonna make some excuse. I can't see why Trump is racist. What, dude? Have you not seen the birther movement? Have you not seen what he did with the Gen 6? Have you not seen what he did with his tenants and
But a lot
housing?
of
Like,
people will say no. A lot of people will say no.
and they would be willfully ignorant, because you got to understand that racism doesn't come from saying, hey man, me over here, I hate black people, I'm racist. Like that's the only thing. If that's the only way you can say that somebody's racist, then you're probably racist yourself, you
And
know.
that's and so so let's get to the real crux of the argument. A lot of people have a tinge of prejudice. Prejudice sometimes can be seen as racist. So like when we have this conversation and when we're just
It
right now
ranges from
talking
10 trillion to 24 trillion dollars if you were to give $1 million per person.
a million
No,
per
but
person.
yeah, finish what you were saying though.
No. What was the number? What did it say?
So there's no single established figure for reparations today, as estimates span a wide range. Depending on the methodology used, proposed compensations for descendants of enslaved people range from 267,000 to over 1 million per person. The total national packages range from 10 trillion to 24 trillion. A breakdown of major proposals and studies illustrates how these figures are calculated. Racial wealth gap method, which we were just talking about. Economist William A. Darity Jr. and A. Kirsten Mullen estimated that it will take 10.7 trillion to eliminate the difference in household wealth between black and white Americans. When divided among an estimated eligible population of 40 million, this equates to roughly 267,000 per individual.
Nigga, 267,000 is generational for me right now, nigga, on me. I don't, nigga,
You'll
send
take
me
it?
that check and call me nigga all you want, nigga. I ain't gonna hold you.
The California Task Force, they said the State Reparations Task Force calculated compensation for historical injustices, housing discrimination, and mass incarceration in the state. Their proposal for eligible descendants of enslaved people would include up to 1.2 million per person for household devaluation and unjust business practices. And the National African American Reparations Commission, this advocacy group proposes a comprehensive approach that would include direct financial payments, land grants, and systemic investments, with the total package projecting up to reach 24 trillion. 24 trillion. Damn.
God damn.
And then if they, but
That's
here's the
why,
thing,
look, that's why they be looking at us crazy. That's why they be looking at us. That's why they be looking at us crazy.
I think because they know we're old. I think, I mean, and not
I
even me,
mean,
because, you know, I'm a descendant of Nigerian immigrants, but Black Americans, I mean, I do, honestly, when I walk down the street, they can't tell if I'm Nigerian or
I'm
not.
saying
But
they looking at us crazy. Like, are you fucking crazy? Like, we going
no, yeah, we're not gonna
24
get as much.
trillion?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
like,
here's the thing, like, there's no my problem with this, bro, and this is what gets me infuriated, is that this Khanna, Marjorie Greene conversation goes viral, right? 2 months, nothing that fucking happens. But meanwhile, it's been a year since they wrote this executive order and nobody's talking about it, bro. Bernie Sanders, I haven't even seen him talk about this shit. Some of my most respected political leaders that I love and support have not talked about this regime's racist handling of Black Americans. The only time I've seen it is on The View. And JD Vance said, "What the fuck are you talking about?" This is an issue with America, guys.
You know why? Because he got black people in his family. That's why.
I don't
That
give a
you know
fuck.
what I mean? I know, but he can't see racism like that.
Dude, he can. He's not stupid. I'm sorry. JD Vance can see that, hey, this law right here is racist. Now you can't prove racism because we got to take into account that, dude, we're living amongst a bunch of racist people, guys. It's not fair to Black people to endure life here and say, yeah, build this country up, and then then there's no job for you. Build this country up, and then you can't buy a house. Build this country up, and then we get to just dilute your vote. This is not okay. If you have people here just because of the color of their skin, you want to then make them a villain or continually lessen the power and voice they have, and then when they lash out, make them a villain. It's evil, and I think that's the mind fuck that I think a lot of these people have us in, is that a lot of people don't know what's going on, so that when we say at least don't kill us in the streets, and y'all do that still, yeah, we're gonna fuck up the entire world at that point. There's nothing that you're trying to do for us to help us advance in our life and give us a dignified lifestyle. I don't give a fuck that there's a rapper that makes $1 million. That's not what we all are. We need positions in tech. I've been having a hard time doing it. We need positions in hospitals. We need positions everywhere. Manufacturing plants, CEOs and businesses. That's what and if you're now taking a point to say, oh, you don't qualify because of your aptitude test, and you asked a bunch of questions that have nothing to do with the job, but Black people typically won't know the answer to these questions because they come from a certain type of upbringing. That is a disparity impact that we can't even fight anymore. People can what this is allowing us, what Trump is allowing people to do is to be covertly racist and to covertly hinder the impactment and advancement of Black people moving forward in this country. And I think it's very insidious, and it's right in front of our face. And the fact that there's no politicians calling this out on a regular basis, and we got to sit here and talk about Iran and Lebanon and Palestine every day, and keep track of that, while he gets to write executive orders that directly impact the freedom of speech and the livelihood of Black people in this country and other minorities in this country, and harms it for the future, meaning that there's no way for you to sue for any racial discrimination unless somebody says they're not hiring you because you're Black, is sick. It's just absolutely sick. Who's fighting for us? Hmm? And I ask, who is fighting for us? We have a regime right now that doesn't want Black people to have the right to vote, or wants to completely minimize their voice. This regime wants to completely minimize Black voices in politics. They don't want you to be able to call out racism in the workplace or discrimination when it comes to housing or getting a loan. They allow people on the White House lawn to say all types of disparaging things about our former president, Black president, and his wife publicly, are racist. And no politician has our backs to make this a national conversation. I'm going to look it up right now. So yeah. So when you guys do your research, look up Executive Order 14281. It's titled Restoring Equality of Opportunity and Meritocracy. So what they do is um, they hide these racist tactics in the broad naming of it as if it's doing the opposite. So it says restoring equality, opportunity, meritocracy. This is issued on 23rd 25, and it's an order to the states that the policy of the United States to eliminate the use of this disparate impact standard to maximum degree possible. In quotations, to maximum degree. So Trump ordered the states to eliminate the use of disparate impact standard to the maximum degree possible, in quotations. To the maximum degree possible, they want to eliminate any type of qualifications of measuring whether a policy or a provision is disparaging to a particular race of people. Therefore, as long as a job doesn't say they're not hiring you because you are XYZ, you can't say nothing. You can't do nothing. Even if they put a policy and it's like, hey, you gotta hit this criteria, and this criteria disproportionately affects people that are not, of your skin tone, your race, and it's because you live in a certain area of the town, they can discredit you just because, oh yeah, you live in this area over here, you can't get this job, you can't get this loan, you can't get this house, you can't get approved for uh, this surgery. This is what this law or this executive order is doing. And I do believe that this is extremely harmful to not just the black community, to women, to the LGBT community, and all other minorities. And nobody's talking about it. They're going to drown your ear out with. I get it. It's important that we're in a war right now, and that is a extreme topic right now, and it's important to discuss and keep up to date with what's going on um, as in foreign policy federally. But just as important is how we are treated domestically, because we are a nation of multicultures. It's a multicultural nation that I think the goal should be equality. And to do that, you have to put in these provisions because we have to take into account that this is a racist country to begin with. A country does not do the atrocities it's done to the black, Asians, Native Americans if it wasn't based on race. So with that in mind, if you're not going to give reparations, then you can't put these we have to have somebody fighting against these executive orders because it's completely unfair. You are muted, I think, or your mic is not in or something. Are you on Discord still? 'Cause I can't even hear you, bro. Okay, I can hear you. I can hear myself now. I can hear you now. Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, damn, it's not coming through my headphones. Oh. Damn, I was talking and you couldn't hear me. I was saying that I couldn't have said anything as far as I have a real issue with the legislation that isn't being addressed, like you said, on our either side, right? The amount of fence sitting that we speak of, the amount of I don't want to talk out of turn on something that I might like. are you standing up for the betterment and the whole of all people? Because, like we say, everybody else gets their turn. Full stop. We worked for decades to accommodate you. We hit you with a one-stop shop and say we get formal apologies. Like everybody don't have to apologize for racism. Everybody don't have to apologize for slavery. America does. America is the only person. If you represent America, and if you don't feel like you have to apologize for slavery, then I don't think you believe in the idea of what America wanted herself to be.
Until
You fought. People fought to create this nation, and then also people fought to amend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to extend to everybody that was in this nation. We have amended several bills and acts and rights and given people the responsibility of saying you are not less than, and we apologize for if we made you feel that way. What I want people to understand is these niggas allowing me to get my house ain't because they gave me a favor because I was black. Bitch, I served in the military and deserved this motherfucking house as it comes with my VA benefits. This ain't part of my reparations package, motherfucker. So because I'm black and I got a house, or I'm black and my wife has a job, that does not include in my reparations package. I want people to understand what includes in my reparations package is the apology owed to the descendant of people. And also, again, my family members were on Edmund Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday. An apology for that, because we as a nation were racist and wanted to beat you for you wanting to have civil rights as a human being living in this nation. Yes, I do believe that even though you're not racist, your great-grandfather might not have been racist, your lineage or your heritage may not be racist, but the country that you love and you represent has been. And they have to atone for the sins of that, regardless of if you like it or not, if you were involved in it or not. So if it doesn't involve you, shut the fuck up, ho, and let America apologize to me like it needs to, so we can move on with this life of ours that people want us to move on from. I would also like to move on from it.
Yeah.
I would also like to not always have this as a fall backwards where hey man, apologize to me, cut me my chicken, and let me figure it out. I already got my degree. I already got my house. Stop giving the jobs to
odds.
And let me fucking figure it. Exactly. So if I already did that against all odds, shorten my gap, my nigga, so my kids can have something that they can be passed down on, right? So I can pay off the house and the house be done. Put a little money into a little 529 savings account.
Generational wealth, man. Just like the other people have, and America will never be great until it atones for slavery and racism of this country. I mark my words, it will never be great until it atones for slavery and the atrocities of this country's past. Because until that happens, it's going to create more division, and it harms white people too, because economically they get to lie to your face and say you're better than somebody just based on a skin tone, and meanwhile steal your health care and rob you of your clean water and make you believe that the villains are people who have a different skin tone than you, and that people who are coming across the border are the problem. That's why you're poor, and you
People
get to
that practice
people have probably different religion. They get to really play with your mental and say that they're the reason why you don't have enough money. They're the reason why you gotta get on food stamps. They're the reason why you can't grow your business. They're the reason why you can't find a job. It's always these black people, these Spanish people, these Muslims, these immigrants we're bringing over. They're the reason why. And until this country atones for its racism and slavery and the atrocities it's done, you will always be tricked into believing you're better so that they can get more and more out of you. You're the
Bro, just think about it. If they gave us our 40 acres of the mule, it's not this industrial plantation that we're living in. I got land, you got land, you do what you want on your land, I do what I want on my land, and we live in harmony, my nigga. It ain't really that hard.
we might even do business together, because
Come
I got
on,
my
I
own shit.
might.
You got, yeah, honestly, the economy would be way better without racism. The economy would be way better if we had unity. The economy would be way better if black people had more money because we spend more, because we have way different ways of moving in this world. So until that happens, we're going to be stuck. And I think that's a broader scope that I always tell you, and I know we have this conversation where I'm like, God, like some of these guys I'm rooting for, Rico, Jasmine Crockett, Bernie Sanders, people that I fuck with, I'm like, hey, listen, some of their policies are gonna help black people too. Because if you help everybody, you're also helping black people. But what I'm seeing here is with these executive orders, there's only going to be certain people that will benefit from these policies, even if they were to get um, free education, even if you were to do free healthcare. If you can't get your shit approved because of some kind of disparity law or some kind of uh, you know it's you're going to be stuck. So yes, it makes it even playable to some degree for some people. But if you can still not get a job because they get to just say that they're just not hiring you because of, oh, you live in this part of the town and we can't, even though that means they hire nobody that's black because of that criteria.
Mhm.
If you can't like say that's discriminatory and fight that, then you're forced to get only jobs in that town, and those jobs don't pay high enough, so that you're forced to then have that community only get money from within that community that gets lower wages. So then you're forcing certain type of people into certain type of positions in certain type of jobs in certain type of areas, and that place will then get less funding for schools, as we mentioned before prior, less funding for infrastructure, and it perpetuates this whole thing of the ghetto, which we don't want anywhere to be a ghetto. It's a it's a
Nobody deserves to be a ghetto, whether it's the black ghetto or the trailer park. Nobody deserves to be in
nobody. We don't want anybody to be in the ghetto. That should be the goal. And they keep lying to you, MAGAs, telling you that the issue is an immigrant, is a black person, is the border, is somebody who might be trans or gay, and they get to do that mind trick on you over and over again and steal your money and steal your land. Until this country atones for slavery and racism, we're not going to be able to come together and really go after who the people that really are trying to control us. All of us deserve more from this country. And actually, if there was more immigration here and it was more equal, and there was more people here that were different races, I guarantee you'd probably be more happy because you're learning more about people every single day. And you're tasting better food and you're learning new things, and you get to experience life in its truest form, life in its true abundance, rather than being afraid of people that are different than you, learning about a different religion and saying, you know what, that's not too bad. I may not be what I believe, but the way you thought about That's not too bad. I love that you pray to your Lord 5 times a day and take the time out of your day to do that. I love that you were able to fast in honor of the Lord. I might not do that myself, but I can see, I can appreciate you for who you are. And until we get there, we're gonna be blinded and let these executive orders fly under the radar. And then on top of that, our politicians are not gonna even bring it up on television and talk about it. So yeah, but that's why you come here, because we talk about everything that matters. Executive Order 14281. Executive Order 14281. Look into it, guys. Do your homework. It's some bullshit.
Absolute bullshit. Do we have anything that we want to wrap the show up with positivity? I have breaking news right now, if you will allow me to.
Yeah.
Giannis Antetokounmpo is the Miami Heat.
I told y'all, yo, listen, not you. I told my brother, I told my nephew, going to the Heat. Going to the Heat. Say what, Jimmy Butler?
Uh-huh.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
No,
Shout out
no,
to
Jimmy,
Giannis.
no, Jimmy's
Oh, he
in
left.
Golden
Okay.
State.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's Golden State. Oh,
he's gonna be with Bam. So it's gonna
oh,
be
bam. Okay.
two Nigers.
Okay.
I think Bam's Nigerian, and
Yeah,
Greene,
man.
the Milwaukee Bucks are trading Giannis and Bobby Portis to Miami for Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., and Capers Yakinchunas. 3 first-round picks, including the 13th pick this upcoming draft tomorrow. One pick swap and 1 second rounder. So
So,
they got their guy. You
all
know,
right. How do you look at Miami now?
they got another piece that I believe that they're going to make, and I think it's gonna be nice. They have to get a guard.
You got a guard.
They
Okay, you
have
got
to
a
get a
guard.
guard. They have to get a guard, and I think it might be Ja.
John Morant?
Yeah,
What? You think they can get him?
I think. Yeah, I think they can pull it off.
That'd be
I
crazy.
think they can pull it off. I think
That's a
Miami
big
can pull
three.
it off.
That's a
Ja,
big
I
three
mean,
right there.
Ja and Bam, they both from South Carolina. They ran into each other in the AE circuit. They got a little vibe together. So yeah, that can be nasty. So that's the fantasy booking in me. But if they don't get anybody else, they got a decent five that can compete. They got Davian Mitchell right now at the point guards, the dog pitbull point guard. They got Norman Powell score. They got Andrew Wiggins at the three, and now they got Giannis and Bam 4 and 5. I mean, they can compete with anybody right now as constructed. So, um, yeah, we'll see if they got more moves to go. But
We will see. That's crazy.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Shout out to Giannis. Shout out to the Heat. Shout out to Bam. And we'll see how they move going forward, man. That's what's up. Shout out to them.
yeah. Now Jalen Brown, he gotta go. I don't give a fuck where he go.
Atlanta.
He gotta get up out of Boston. Y'all done put my name in too many trades, nigga. Y'all done put my name in too. Y'all done whisper my name too many times, nigga. Y'all done whisper my name too many times, nigga. I gotta get up out of there, cuz.
That's what's
Yeah.
up, man. Dallas in Miami. Shoot. I know we want to talk about men's mental health real quick, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
we should table that for tomorrow. I don't know, because we did get sidetracked with the LGBT conversation, and it is also Pride Month, so I'm cool with that being a segment today.
Yeah.
I want to
Respect
give the
that.
men's mental health its proper time. And I know I
Absolutely.
teased it
We'll
earlier
we'll
on,
leave
but
the we'll leave the show tomorrow with men's mental health tomorrow. So for those who are watching right now, please tune in tomorrow where we'll have a segment dedicated to men's mental health and how we really need to band together, black and white,
Hmm.
brown and tan, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, like whatever we doing, all men need to unite with one another and build a bond that we can lean on one another when we're weak, because
Absolutely.
the world needs whether you're again straight man, homosexual man, trans sex affirming man, we need strong, healthy, mentally strong men in this world to be able to shoulder the load and take us where we need to go.
Especially now when we don't have real men in leadership positions, running the country. People stand up, real men stand up. So, with that being said, we're going to talk more about that tomorrow. Um, all is love. Everything is everything. We are the culture. We are the zeitgeist. We shall see y'all tomorrow. We are the pod that talks about everything that matters. And thank you for joining us today. Peace out.